Mother shocked to see her son's grave green, then mysterious man approaches her. A mother should never experience the death of her own child. It's one of the toughest things that a woman can ever experience, and no one deserves to go through that. Having to go on with your life after a tragic event like that is incredibly difficult, and it may take you years to find purpose in your life after that. This mother had to face the unbearable pain of losing her one and only child, then notices her son's grave being strangely green. When she realized what was going on, she could not believe her eyes. This woman's story is more than heartbreaking. After losing her poor son, she visits his grave to pay her respects when she sees the grave green, full of grass. And that was the only part that had grass in the whole cemetery. She had no idea what was going on, but when she found out, she cried her heart out. Raymond and Rachel are a great couple that had always wanted a lot of children. Life treated them well and gave them a wonderful son who was loved by everyone. But then a tragic event happened that changed everything in their lives. Sergeant Joseph Villaseñor, their son, was enlisted in the United States Air Force in 1994 where he served. He also had this love for softball that made him join the Charleston Air Force Base's softball league. His life was great, he was basically living his dream life, but this was about to come to an end. Sergeant Joseph Villaseñor was involved in a fatal car accident where he left his last breath. The news broke his loving family and his precious wife, who could not handle the unexpected event. They all decided that his body would inter in Conroe, Texas. Their pain was unbearable. Raymond and Rachel had gone through a lot to finally have a child. And when they lost their one and only son, they were devastated. It was like they were taken back a few years ago, restarting their life, but with a huge weight on their shoulders. Nothing could make them feel less pain until a strange man showed his compassion to them. But who was he? Jake Riesig was only 18 when he met his one and only wife, Betty. She was only 15 back then, but their love was very strong. They both never dated other people, and that made them a unique couple, truly devoted to each other. But when they got on their 60s, Betty passed away unexpectedly. Jake had no reason to be happy since then. Jake and Betty had 9 children and 17 grandchildren. So, she left a huge family and a heartbroken man that could not just go on with his life. The only thing he wanted to do after Betty's loss was visiting her grave and doing good things. But no one could believe what he did for a poor family. Jake was 65 at that time, but was still in love with his wife. He would visit her grave every single day, leaving flowers and other things, while also watering the grass. By seeing the green growing near her grave he felt overwhelmed as if he was decorating it. But then Jake added a new task to his daily routine. Jake would go to the church first thing in the morning, and he would then go visit her grave to pay his respects and water the grass. But on his way from the church to the cemetery, we would always do something very special. Roses were her favorite flowers, and Jake would very often offer her some fresh cut ones. They really made her happy because they symbolized their bonding, love, and commitment. Jake promised her to give her a rose every single day, and that's exactly what he did even after her death. Jake promised himself that he would do good things after Betty's death. Betty was also a great woman, so he thought that this was exactly what she would want him to do. And then Jake decided to show his empathy to another family who had also lost a family member. The way he did it was shocking. Betty's grave was very close to another grave of a young man who had lost his life in a car accident. Jake knew some basic things about that poor man, and he was shocked to learn that the man had a very similar background to one of his sons. This really broke him, but then he witnessed another thing that broke him even more. He would often see the man's wife crying for hours in front of his grave. Jake would tell she was really struggling and was a complete mess. Jake then realized something about that woman that tore him to pieces. She was pregnant, waiting to deliver a baby that would never meet his father. Jake felt really sorry for the woman and wanted to do something to show his compassion. After thinking about it for a few days, he now knew what he had to do. Jake was already into gardening, so watering the man's grave, after watering his wife's one, was not a chore to him. He was having fun doing it. And most importantly, he was doing it with love, even though he had never met this man or his family. One day he saw the woman crying on the grave again, and he really felt her pain. Then he decided to approach her. And even comfort her. The woman was surprised and felt overwhelmed by that stranger's interest. They had a small talk explaining to one another what family member they had lost and how it happened. They now knew one another's story, and that was good for both of them. But Jake felt he had to do more for this woman. Jake was now dedicated to both graves and he wanted to turn them as green as possible. He would water both his wife and this man's grave, and he would even clean them every day. And on top of these, he would even leave flowers on the man's grave. He never saw the wife again, but he did see someone else. He saw the man's mum crying. She looked very sad, but also surprised by how her son's grave looked. She had never seen anyone taking care of it and was very confused. This time, Jake did something he never did before. Jake wore a big smile on his face and got closer to the woman. She didn't recognize him and asked him who that was. He introduced himself, then revealed the shocking truth about her son's grave. Jake revealed his past. He explained that he had lost his wife and her grave was next to her son's. He even told the poor woman that she had met her son's wife and got to know his story and background from her. He told her that he wanted to help and that was why he was watering and decorating her son's grave. Mother could not believe it. Before the reveal, the mother would go back home after visiting her son's grave and tell her husband that a miracle was happening on their son's grave. She could not explain it any other way and she thought it was a God sign. But no, she got told the truth. She was so grateful to Jake and wanted to get him to meet her husband. The couple and the wife were finally all together with a man that was doing such a nice act of compassion to them. Jake was very happy to meet his new friends and even invited them for dinner. After a few days, they did have dinner all together. Both sides opened up and Jake revealed his past with his wife Betty. He then revealed a secret to the family that he hadn't told them yet. They were all shocked to know what Jake got through before Betty's death. His son-in-law Misha was also a veteran as Sergeant Joseph Villasenor was, so he could feel exactly how the couple felt it at this point. Misha died because of cancer. Chemos and other treatments were no effective and there was nothing they could do to save him. But that was not the only bad moment in Jake's life. Roger was the youngest child of Jake. He almost got killed after thieves broke into his house and threatened him with a gun on his head. Thankfully, Roger's neighbors saw the incident and called the police before anything bad happened. Roger loved Jake very much and he wanted people to know how good of a father Jake was, so he posted his act of kindness on social media. He made a Facebook post that got thousands of likes and comments from people all over the world. Raymond, Rachel, the wife, Jake, and Roger were all friends now. They would even visit each other's home and spend quality time together. They would tell stories about their lost ones, eat together and play games. Raymond and Rachel were impressed by how many difficulties Jake had gone through and wanted to make him a big surprise. So, they did exactly what Jake had done for them all this time. They took care of Betty's grave and left lots of beautiful flowers. When he saw Betty's grave being so beautiful, he got very emotional. He had done something kind for some strangers and they wanted to do something good back to him. Jake was now feeling better for the first time after losing her beloved wife. This lovely man kept doing small acts of kindness for people he knew or didn't know. And that's what made him special. After a few years, though he died because of a heart attack, Raymond and Rachel did go to his funeral and will remember this good man forever.